Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to bring you the biggest names in music as always. Today is no different, bringing you this amazing talent. The voice is so iconic, hailing all the way from the UK. For the longest of time, I've been saying Mahalia. Did you know that, Mahalia? I've been saying Mahalia.
I did not, but I'm not surprised. Everybody has different variations of my name. I've heard Mahalia, Mahalia. My school teacher called me Malaria when I was 11. Yeah, I promise you. And obviously, you know, being in school, those kind of nicknames never go away. People remember them for the whole time. So, but yeah, Mahalia is how you pronounce it.
Thank you very much for taking the time, to chat to me and connect. How's the pandemic been on your side?
I mean, the UK has definitely been a bit of a mess. But we won't go into all of the logistics. But for me personally, it's been strange. It's definitely been a really weird year and a half. I think the first, when the pandemic really hit over here in the UK, we went into lockdown, and the first kind of couple months were okay. I think I was quite grateful to be able to sit down and rest and take some time for myself. But a year and a half is a bit long. Yeah. And I will also just say thank you for having me. This is my first ever South African interview, so I'm really excited to be here.
Welcome. This is the best place to be introduced to South Africa. We are the biggest urban radio station in the country. So I think after this, everyone is going to be tweeting you, letting you know that they heard the interview. So if you're listening to this right now, do the right thing, tweet her so she knows that you heard it,
Tweet me.
So I got vaccinated this week. Have you been vaccinated as yet?
I had my first vaccination a few weeks ago, and then I'm due to get my second soon.
Yeah. And how's yours feeling?
The first time on my first one, my arm was definitely hurting for a couple of days. But I remember getting vaccinations as a kid, and I would always have that in my arm. It would always be painful for a few days.
Yeah, ne? Oh, that's an expression in South Africa. So yeah, ne is how can I explain it in English? It's so we say yeah, ne.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, ne. Talking about loving things, hearing you speak just reminds me of the time when I was out in the UK. There's just something about the accent. It's like speak a little bit more. Which accents do you find sexy?
Which accents do I find sexy?
Yeah.
Gosh, different ones. I love an Irish accent.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think whenever I go to see my family in Jamaica, I love patois. I love the dialect. I love how they speak. I definitely find the patois dialect very sexy. But yeah, I don't know. I do think that the British accent is quite enticing. I think whenever I go to America, people always say to me, "Oh, please speak more. Just speak a little bit more." But I guess for us, it's just it's normal. But yeah.
Yeah, no one lied to you. When I was that side, I did not want to speak, but everyone wanted me to speak. I'm like, no, just speak. Your accent is just, it fills up my ear.
The South African accent is so beautiful. I find it really soft, and I find I think because of with the intonation, you go up at the end of sentences, and I think that's really nice to listen to. It's to me, maybe it's because I'm a singer, but it's like music.
Yeah,
it's very pretty.
Have you been to South Africa before?
I've never been.
Wow. Africa?
Okay. I have not. But it's funny because I always have people on Twitter tweeting me just saying, please come to South Africa. And it's been in my head for a while. I think I was invited to do Afropunk in South Africa a few years ago, but we never got it. We never could make it work. I had to go to Australia to do some shows. So it was all quite confusing, but I would love to come. I've heard so much about what it's like to perform in South Africa. And yeah, I guess my goal as an artist is to be able to go everywhere and be able to go anywhere that people want me or where people will have me. So South Africa is definitely at the top of my touring list for sure.
No, we definitely can't wait to have you this side. You know, we play your music resonates to this market. And one thing you'll notice when you come to South Africa, there's so many similarities in some parts of the country to the UK because, you know, we were colonized by the UK, you know, so there's certain cities that when you come this side, you'll be like, oh, that looks like London. Oh, that looks like, you know, certain space that you've been there before. But talking about traveling and just, you know, music at large, you've been doing this thing since the age of 13, you know?
I have.
Would you say that your childhood years were easy, or you didn't get a chance to do, you know, teenage things without having to worry about people talking about you, noticing you, and just being here?
Do you know what? I had really great parents who made sure that I was able to go to all the parties and do all the fun stuff that all of my other friends were doing. So I think I had a really good balance of working in the music industry, but then also being a normal teenager. And it's definitely hard to do that. I think if I had a different mum and dad, I might not have been able to have done all the stuff that I did. But it was really important for me to just stay my age and stay young and just stay true to who I was, because 13 is so young to get signed and like kind of be plunged into the music industry. So it was really important for me to like keep all of the parts of me that were still a child, whilst trying to make music and be an artist at the same time.
So what would you say are some of the big learnings that you took from your teen years and making the transition into the early years of your 20s, because you're 23 now?
I'm 23 now, so I've now been signed for 10 years.
Wow.
I know. And well, I think the biggest kind of learning curves for me was they were all to do with confidence and to do with trusting myself.
Yeah.
Like that was huge for me. You know, as a kid, it's really hard because I think you naturally question yourself anyway, you know, whether it's about what you're going to wear to school or what you're going to say in a classroom or how you're going to speak to your friends or maybe a crush. So all of that normal stuff, I was going through all of that, but I was going through it in an adult world as well as in a teenage world. And I was kind of having to deal with opinions from my label and opinions from the outside world and people kind of commenting on the way I looked, and all of that stuff was really hard. But it was about finding my inner confidence, whether that was in performing or just in my day-to-day life, you know, how I felt about myself. And I think confidence was key for sure. And I'm still working on it now, like as a 23-year-old woman in the industry. It's difficult to always feel confident and always feel proud of where I'm at and the woman that I've become. But yeah, it was always about trusting myself and trusting my brain first. And once I kind of mastered that, I was able to accept any opinion that was thrown my way because, you know, regardless of what the opinion was, I trusted myself and I believed in myself at the center of it.
I think trusting yourself is a very important element because, you know, from the outside looking in, one could never imagine that, you know, as Mahalia, you're going through such internal difficulties because you come through with a very robust energy. You're very, you know, very confident. You know, there's certain things that we see through interviews and it just makes you wonder, like, how is that energy controlled, especially when it comes to sharing ideas with other acts in studio? So how has it always been for you when it comes to approaching collaborations? Has there been a situation before where at first at first connection with someone, the energy is a little bit offside, fast forward a few sessions later, this person is now your best friend? Has that happened?
For sure. It's so it can be so difficult to walk into every room and get on with everybody. And I think when I was younger, I would always feel really intimidated and I was always nervous going into sessions because it's essentially every time I walk in, I have to share a huge part of myself with that person. But as I've gotten older, you know, I've realized that if I don't give somebody all of me, and if I'm not willing to share myself with them in a creative space, then it's probably not going to work. So a lot of it is about sacrifice, and a lot of it comes down to sacrificing, you know, parts of yourself for the benefit of the music. But I love what I do, and as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten more confident with just being able to walk into a room and say, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, that's fine. If you do, then great, let's make some music. But I'm much more able to understand different dynamics in the studio and in the room and move forward with that.
Talking about moving forward, let's move forward to the song that you have right now. It's called Whenever You're Ready. The ear can't ignore the 90s party anthem that you have on this joint that you've sampled. And it just got me thinking, you're born in 98. Here's a song that came out when you were 1 year of age. Like, how young were you when you were actually introduced to Montel Jordan?
Montel Jordan, I would have been about 6 or 7 so the first time I heard Get It On Tonight was in the film Save the Last Dance. Ooh. Which was one of my favorite films. Yeah. And it was, I was always so into dance as a kid. And I think I was also kind of fascinated because I'm of dual heritage. So my dad is white, and my dad's white British and my mum is Black Caribbean. And I grew up in quite a white neighborhood. So I kind of grew up not really ever seeing interracial relationships besides with my parents. So I remember watching Save the Last Dance. I think I was quite young. I think I was 6 or 7. And I loved the dance and the music and all of it. And I loved watching those worlds come together. And it was the first time that I'd ever seen an interracial relationship happen on TV. So I think that was one of my favorite films, just to kind of be able to relate to it, like looking and seeing a Black man and a white woman fall in love through being each other, but also through dance and through music. And I really kind of experienced that. Like, my family was so creative and both my parents were musicians. My mum was also a dancer. So there was something about that film that really resonated with me. And I remember hearing Get It On Tonight in that film and just loving it. And like kind of through my life, I just loved everything about that. And I loved everything about that song. So it was always quite iconic to me, that song, and being able to sample it and Whenever You're Ready was definitely like a little dream come true.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I feel like for all of us, this sounds like a sequel to the initial song that it came through, because here's Mr. Jordan chatting up this lady that he feels that he should be with, but at home he's got this wifey, but at the same time he's trying to confess this lady that I really, really dig you, maybe we should get it on tonight. And she's a little bit hesitant. At the very same time, you come through with this modern version. I don't know what you said to man, but he was not really happy about these things that you said. But at the end of the day, as you listen to the song, you are consistently saying that when you're ready, I will be here, everything will be open, and hopefully we can hash things out. Was this a true story?
It was a true story. It was a true. I mean, I would say all of them are true stories. All the songs that I write come from somewhere. And with Whenever You're Ready, I was actually going through a breakup, and I was probably quite, I was in denial. I think I didn't want to accept that the relationship was over, and I didn't want it to be over. So Whenever You're Ready was kind of me trying to just have a moment, kind of a cheeky moment. Like I kind of knew in my head that it shouldn't have been over, and I knew that it ended because of things that were out of my control. And I think I wanted to say to him, whenever you're ready, I am here, I'm still here, and I'm going to be here. And it was definitely, for that time, it was a really important message for me to get out. Like, I really wanted to make that song because that was how I was feeling. And I think we've all maybe been in denial. Like, if a relationship's ended and you didn't want it to end, I think we've all kind of wanted to say to that person, if you do want to come back, I'm here. I also won't be here forever, but right now I'm here. I loved writing that song. And it was like, whenever I write songs, it almost feels like self-therapy. It feels like I'm writing songs to get my feelings out so that I don't have to carry them anymore. And that was definitely how I was feeling at the time.
I think that's the joys of music, which brings me to this point, as you talk and I'm listening, because people tend to think that as celebrities or as artists, y'all don't go through similar realities as them. So when I hear you say this dude wanted to leave, but you didn't want him to leave, I'm like, you go through that? You think that everybody wants to be with you, you know what I mean? But you've addressed various topics through your music, love, breakup, wanting a guy, has someone, accepting yourself for who you are, shining your lights on body appreciation, body positivity. What is that one thing you would say you're still holding on to, and you're probably still trying to figure out how you're going to articulate it through your lyrics, and you're possibly still holding back because you also still trying to make sense of it? Do you have those subject matters that you haven't shared through your music?
I definitely do. I think, first of all, that's a great question. And I think you're right. I think people totally forget that, like, as artists and as people, in the public eye, we don't go through these normal things. But like when I wrote that song, I remember thinking, oh my God, I just got dumped. Like, I've not been dumped since I was 13. And it was just like, I remember thinking, God, like, I don't even know how to articulate this. But you're right. I think something that I've really tried to articulate recently, I think that I've not really done yet, but I feel like I could maybe do in the process of writing this next album, is just talking about kind of loving myself first and being able to be loved. I think, the reason why I have so many heartbreak songs is because I've had my heart broken a couple of times quite badly. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think I'm probably left with some trauma from that, which has made me now understand through therapy and just through learning about myself that I self-sabotage quite a lot. I think I make it hard for people to love me now because I've been through pain, and because I'm probably a bit scared of being loved again and then potentially being hurt again. And that's an emotion that I didn't really understand until this year. And it's something that I definitely want to talk about. And like, something that I want to really talk about is like working out, if I don't love myself, and if I can't accept myself truly, then how can somebody else ever come to me and accept who I am and love me for who I am? So that's something that's like really quite intimate and quite vulnerable, and it's probably more vulnerable than I've ever been. But that's the song that I'm trying to write for this album.
There's so many people who relate to what you're saying. You got so much love in you. You've been hurt so many times, but you still try again.
Yeah.
How have you been able to heal or get yourself to try again?
Well, I think fundamentally I know that I have a really open heart, and it's difficult as an artist, especially as a female artist, because if you talk too much, you're a bitch, and if you show up late, you're a diva. And, if you're too confident, then you're cocky. Like, there's so many barriers I find put up to us, and not even as an artist, like just as women. And like, especially as a young Black woman coming into the industry, people, without even realizing it, people already have the angry Black woman stereotype in their head before I've even opened my mouth. And so there's been so many ways that I've had to diminish myself or like put myself down to kind of fit into this world that only really accepts polite women who show up on time and who don't talk too much and who aren't too confident. But oh my God, what was the question?
I think you answered it, like being able to open yourself up again and again and again.
Exactly. So it's meant that, like, after doing all of that stuff and like making myself, like, there's so many names pitted against me. I think that's what I'm saying. And that's hard because that then creates these walls that I put in front of myself. And at the pit of it all, I know that I'm a great person. I know that my heart is good and is pure. And I know that I have a lot of love to share and also a lot of love to give. And kind of going through this process is how I met my current boyfriend. And this is the most healthy and loving relationship that I've ever been in. And it's like, it's amazing because it's taught me how to love again without being scared of what it might turn out to be. So I actually feel like I'm kind of, in my personal life, I'm on that journey, and I've been on that journey for a while. And now I just want to be able to articulate that into a song.
Is that the next single?
It's not, but I think it could definitely be. I think it could definitely be a moment on my second album for sure, because I think it's something that a lot of people really relate to. And you know, when there's people telling you all the negative things about you, it's really hard to not believe them, and it's really hard to think, how could anybody ever love me if I'm all of these negative things that all of you people tell me I am? So that is definitely something that I want to talk about on this record. But that's not the next single, no, but it's something that I would like to delve into for sure.
You know, not to digress, but, you know, hearing you speak and talking about negative energy, I've just come to realize that some people throw negative energy your way just so they can get your attention. Because when you give them that attention, the first thing they do, they apologize because they just wanted you to notice them. And I just find that a little bit weird. But it just got me thinking, you know, like there's not a lot of people who Google themselves and find, you know, moments in their lives that will remind them of how great they are or the fact that they've really done well. You know, when last did you reflect on your success and how and has it made you feel good when you reflect on the things that you've been able to achieve for yourself at such a young age?
Definitely. I think every time I go on stage, I realize how far I've come. And last week I did a show at a festival here in the UK called Wilderness Festival. And I was performing on the main stage and I was second to headline. And I just looked out at the crowd and saw all these thousands of people. And I just was like, wow. I've just come so far. And I remember playing that same festival back in 2014. So 7 years ago, and I played a really small stage and there were about 10 people in the crowd. So I remember, you know, I was on that stage just kind of reminding myself, like, this is amazing and you've come so far. And I think going on stage always makes me feel like that. I think that's probably why in the past year and a half, my confidence went down quite a lot, just because I wasn't able to be on tour and be on stage. And like, those are the moments that for me are really fulfilling and make me remember why I'm here and what I'm here to do and why I was put here to do this. And so it's definitely nice to be back performing, because that's I think that's where I feel it the most.
Would you say Whenever You're Ready is a leading single of an EP or an album we can expect in 2022?
I think it might be an album, but who knows?
Ooh. Well, name of the album? Where's your headspace at right now?
I actually don't know. I think the name of the album, I haven't really thought about it. I've kind of just been writing as much music as I possibly can. And I'm kind of hoping that, I think the album title will probably reflect the past year and a half and just kind of where I've been at and like the overall feeling and the outcome, but I still don't know what that is yet. So I'm I'm thinking about it all the time. So hopefully that will come soon.
You know, I can talk for hours, but I think I'll park it here. So the next time I meet you, hopefully we'll be able to engage in more conversations when the album is ready. But if you have time, you know, the more I listen to your music and now having, you know, had an opportunity to engage in your space, please look up a lady by the name of Shekinah. She's an artist from here in South Africa. There's so many similarities in passion, in energy that I'm getting from you and also with her, you know. So if you have time, please listen to her music. It's available on several DSPs.
How do I spell her name?
Her name, you spell it SHE.
Yeah.
KH.
Yeah.
INAH.
Got it.
Yeah, she's got an album that she put out. And generally, I think you guys would make amazing music. You know, as a DJ, as a producer myself, I'd really put you guys in studio, and I know like I'd have an anthem for every lady and man that exists in this world. So thank you once again.
I love that. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll definitely check her out.